Hi, everyone. Welcome to the ZAA Global Summit. It's a very exciting time to be alive with everything that's going on in the world, but I'm very grateful that we're able to sit together and have a chat, talk about where we're going as a nation, what we can do to continue to build. First of all, I'd like to extend biggest thanks to World Remit, our sponsors, for making all this possible. We have been wanting to come together, seeing that we haven't been able to meet, we haven't been able to do any Zim Achievers events this year. We thought it'd be a great idea to still give people their platform to sit together and kind of have, dinner conversations about where we're going and what we can do to build the nation. So thank you very much, World Remit, for making all this possible. And we wouldn't be here, obviously, without the whole CMG team. They've done so well to put everything together. It's been a long, bumpy ride, but we made it. The panelists, everybody involved in this, thank you so much for taking time out to come and sit and talk to the people. There's a lot going on. People are starting to travel again. Offices are opening up. And it means a lot for you to take time out to come through and make this event possible. I'm hoping that everybody watching can, engage and contribute and learn a lot from the panelists. Obviously, this is not everybody who can contribute, but people who are here have a lot to offer, and it would be great if everybody came out with something from this conversation. A special mention also goes to other partners: High Mount Construction London, Kudu Business Support, Fine and Country. Thank you so much for making this event possible. So we are streaming live on Facebook on Zim Achievers Facebook, also on Zimba Live Facebook. You can also find us on YouTube. So follow the conversation on Twitter, hashtag ZAA Summit. Follow the conversation, come through and engage. Let's get talking, young and old. Let's come through and see where we can take this as a nation. I'm gonna go right ahead and dive in and invite the chairman, ZAA chairman, a man we all know and love, Mr. Conrad Mwanza, to come in and maybe give us a few words before we dive into the sessions and start off the day. The next 2 days are going to be phenomenal. I hope you all stay with us throughout, and we keep learning from each other. So I'm going to bring in Mr. Mwanza, just so that we can have a bit of conversation. Mr. Mwanza, good morning.
Hi, Tatina, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I am well.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for introducing me. Do I need to take over from here? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first global virtual summit. I always say, one of my sayings that I've been talking about this time around is that if not us, then who? If not now, then when? You will see that it's important for us as citizens of Zimbabwe to also contribute in nation building. And the reason why I ask, if not us, then who? It's very simple. We sometimes think we are waiting for someone to come and rescue our country. Sometimes we feel like maybe we are waiting for the government to do things for us. But I believe that all of us, individual, whether you are based in Zimbabwe, whether you are based in the US, whether you are based in Germany, if we connect and all play a part in our country, we can develop it. I believe that we don't need to wait for a savior. We don't need to wait for the West to come in and rescue us. We don't even need for the government to, believe you or me. I try and stay away from politics because I believe that as a citizen, I can still contribute to my development. I'll give you an example. Our hub of our developers, web developers, graphic designers, social media managers are based in Zimbabwe. And most of our businesses that we serve is around the world. Now we've created employment. Now there's no politics involved. It means the 20 people that we have on our books are gainfully employed. It means we've taken 20 people outside the unemployment queue, if that makes sense. So all I'm asking, all I am begging, if you are listening today, if you're going to join the conference, and perhaps this is part of the conversation that we're going to have today, is how can I contribute to my country? How can I contribute, even if the government doesn't help us? I mean, of course, we want the government to make it enabling. I mean, a lot of people want to say, want the government to have an enabling platform. I agree on that. But shall we wait for that to happen? We can still contribute today. We can still play a part today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the ZAA Summit, which is hopefully going to be annual, which you'll be able to join us. Before I leave, I want to thank all the panelists who take time out of their very, very busy schedule to join us and share their wisdom and share their expertise and see how we can build this country together and see how we can contribute to nation development. So I want to also thank our sponsors, World Remit, who as a remittance company in Zimbabwe, which, by the way, we need to be proud as we are one of the biggest corridors in terms of remittance to Zimbabwe. People from the US can send using World Remit, from UK, Australia, almost anywhere in the world to send from South Africa to Zimbabwe. So I want to thank World Remit for always supporting our community initiatives. I also want to thank High Mount Construction. I want to thank Kudu Business Support. And I also want to thank Fine and Country for being part of this journey. But ladies and gentlemen, more importantly, I also want to thank you for taking time to listen to our conference, and hopefully you'll be able to engage, hopefully you'll be able to communicate, and hopefully play a part. If you're on Twitter, please hashtag ZAA Summit and just follow the conversation on Facebook. Please share this conference and please contribute. All contributions are welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, I hand over back to, before I hand over back to, I want to thank the CMG team. A lot of the times, people like us would take credit, but it's really not me. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's people like Tatenda, Epson, Tinashe, and the whole CMG team that is scattered around the world, who have worked tirelessly, sometimes sleepless nights, and because of our time differences. So I would like to thank the entire CMG team for an amazing job. The credit goes to them. So I applaud you and thank you very much for joining us. Over to you, Tatenda.
Thank you, Con. For this moving forward, I just wanted to bring in our first session. So the first session that is coming up is business and leadership, and the moderator is Ms. Mapranga, whom I'm going to bring in just now. Maimba has supported Zim Achievers Awards for a long time, and Maimba, for you, welcome to the summit, and we're looking forward to having you on. Hello, Maimba.
Hi, Tatenda.
Good morning.
Hello, Tatenda. Good morning. How are you doing?
Thank you for coming through. I'm all right. I'm all right. Are you ready to impart some knowledge? Do the thing that you do the most?
Well, the beauty of my job is all I do is moderate those that have the knowledge with regards to different conversations that we'll be having, and all I need to do is to facilitate that conversation so that our viewers and listeners can get the most from the experts in the various fields that we'll be talking about. So yeah, I am ready to give enough time to our panelists so that we can impart knowledge to our people.
Awesome. So I will hand over and I'll let you take over, Maimba. This is your law. You can go ahead and bring the panelists in, and you're staying tuned. Thanks, Maimba.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, everybody. And I'm really, really excited that we are all here. Please feel free to send us your comments and conversations. Tatenda, our panelists, again, the ZAA Virtual Summit, an inaugural and first ever 2020, is really the first. This is the first session. Business and leadership, the two things correlate and they go together. And how do we one, raise great leaders to lead us and give us the business solutions that will make the lives of Zimbabweans in the diaspora and in Zimbabwe a whole lot better. And this is the caliber of leaders that we are looking at and looking for. And in this particular session, our panelists are Kumbirai Chipadza. I'm just going to go through Kumbirai Chipadza. Kumbirai Chipadza is a founder of the Douche Connect, a consultancy that links Southern Africa business and people to the German business ecosystem through mentorship, matchmaking, and access to market and partnerships through working with different partners in the ecosystem. A very warm welcome there to Kumbirai Chipadza. We're really excited to have you on the program. Hey, Kumbi.
Hi, Maimba. I'm also excited. Congratulations to the team that has put this together. I think this is an important discussion that we need to do as Zimbabweans. And yeah, thank you very much.
So, Kumbi, how do we say good morning in German? How do we?
We say Guten Tag. That is good day.
Good
Guten
day.
Tag, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Our next panelist is Debson Charamba. And Debson Charamba is Senior Executive Director, ICT and Advisory Services, and is a fellow chartered accountant, company secretary, is an entrepreneur and a board director. Debson Charamba, welcome.
Thank you, Maimba. Thank you for having me on today. I look forward to the conversation, and thanks for the team for putting this up.
Debson, where are you streaming from? Where are you right now?
I am in Gaborone, Botswana.
You are in Gaborone. So,
yes, sir.
And in Gaborone, Botswana, how do we say good morning? Or how do we say hello? Dumela. Is it Dumela?
Dumelang. Yeah, Dumelang is the password.
Dumelang is the password.
Yes.
All right. And then we've got Farai Muvuti. Farai Muvuti is the current Chief Executive Officer at the Southern African Times. He sits on the board of Platinum Vision Limited and former exec of Timeflex Recruitment. Farai is also a contributor on Arise News, where he provides regional geopolitical analysis on a weekly basis as a father and mental health advocate. Hello, Farai.
Farai, not Farai. Farai is still trying to log in, but as soon as he comes in, I'll send you a note.
Okay, so I'm now going straight to
apologies for that.
I'm going back to Bertha Ndlovu, right? So now let me welcome Bertha Ndlovu. Bertha Ndlovu, she's going to be coming on the screen. Bertha Ndlovu is, she is a fireball in terms of business and leadership and entrepreneurship. She works a whole lot with universities and technologies that propel Zimbabwean solutions forward. It's really great to have you, Bertha. If we may give a warm welcome to Bertha.
Hello, good morning, and thank you, Maimba. Good to see you, and good morning to my fellow colleagues, and thank you to the team for the invite.
Well, it's good to see you, Bertha, and thank you for coming on board. Look, we're not going to take a lot of time. We're not going to take a lot of time, but we do know that we have millions of Zimbabweans based in the diaspora. You know, Zimbabweans are all over the show. And Zimbabwe Achievers Awards is a platform that really joins the diaspora and back home. And once and there's a Shona saying that says natsakwa wava, natsakwa wava, and it's and natsakwa wava means just make good where you've come from, really. So it's Zimbabwe Achievers Awards 6 to encourage, remind, motivate, inspire diasporans. Wherever you go, home will always be best. Your umbilical cord will always be home. So how do you create employment back home and just make sure that you're always in touch and uplift the lives of the people back home, wherever you are? You can choose to live in the diaspora, but how do you improve the lives of the people? So each one of you, I'm going to give you a question. I'm just going to ask a question, and then we're going to go through and have these conversations, if that's all right. Okay. Maybe Kumbi, what do you think? What do you think are the factors that are deterring a more robust engagement between home communities and the diaspora? What, in your opinion, what do you think main factors that deter the diaspora and home communities engagement between the two? As a beginner, as a beginning question, that's what maybe Kumbi you might just want to think about. And then as you're thinking about that, Kumbi, I'm going to go down to Devson and Devson, what do you think are the prospects available for businesses and community leaders through opening of diaspora engagement channels? What do you think are the prospects available? What prospects are there that are available for businesses and community leaders through opening up of diaspora engagement channels? Did you get that? You got that, Devson?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
You want me to shoot?
No, not yet.
All right.
Not yet. Not yet. Let me just go to Bertha. And Bertha, for you, I want you to think around, can we have a breakdown of how these home and diaspora ties can be cemented and reveal access to the opportunities at the stakeholders' disposal? How do we cement these ties between the diaspora and the local community, and give access to the of opportunities at the stakeholders' disposal? Obviously, what is it? What is available, and how do we cement these relationships? So all our conversation really is about diaspora and the local communities. How do we, get these guys to get together? Kumbi Rai, I'm going to come to you.
Thanks a lot, Maimba, for that question. I think the main factors that deter a more robust engagement between the home communities and the diaspora, I think number one, the most important, is a lack of trust. And this lack of trust, you can put it from a political perspective, you can put it from a social perspective, and from an economic perspective. I think the reasons why people are in the diaspora might be twofold or threefold. Mainly, is it lack of economic opportunities within Zimbabwe? Secondly, political persecution within Zimbabwe. Thirdly, maybe people have gone to study and found employment elsewhere. But the key factor now is, why is it diasporans are not able to give back or to invest back home? I think that is where the trust issue can come, whereby do we have the conducive government policies that we talk about? I think the mantra Zimbabwe is open for business has been said a lot, but is Zimbabwe really open for business? I would say no, from a personal experience in what we've been trying to put investment through the German entities that want to get into Zimbabwe, whereby you call someone, you go to a meeting, you talk to people, the process takes a long time from one office to another. Secondly, I talked about trust. It goes again to corruption. There's a lot of corruption that is perceived, and that is also there within the offices of power, corridors of power, be it at a national level, be it even at a regional level within our country. So I think that is number one, the biggest problem. This also translates even to families. You see a lot of people send money back home on a monthly basis, But how many people have built houses in the sky when they sent money to their relatives who did not then build the houses that they were meant to build with that money? You find now a lot of people prefer to pay a service provider, whether be it for groceries, whether be it to build property, rather than give money to your own relatives. So the trust issue, it transcends political space, it transcends social space, it transcends even the family space. So I think that is an important part. And it's not only one way, it's also the other way around. Currently, we have a initiative that we're doing through what is called leverage.de. It's part of the German government initiative to give opportunities in emerging markets to entrepreneurs. And this was for free. But when you try to engage people in Zimbabwe, young entrepreneurs, they always think there's a catch behind it. Is this really for free? What would then happen? So that trust level, because of the the distance factor, and we cannot be able to trust that something good can happen when we interact together. Then I think also the last point in terms of that is the perception of Africa, be it from a diaspora perspective or be it from even people within Africa. There is that we don't have people speaking the true African story, or rather the positive African story. We need to speak in terms of more opportunities, more information that gives a better feedback. Because when you talk about the diaspora, remember, we're not only talking about people who left Zimbabwe, we're talking about even people who were born in other countries, but with Zimbabwean heritage. We see it a lot within the football fraternity, whereby we're trying to get soccer players to play for Zimbabwe. Some are refusing to come because of the perception. So we need to speak the better Zimbabwean story. We need to be united as a nation above partisan politics, and have a true national and patriotic spirit as Zimbabweans, and share the true Zimbabwean story. So I think those are the two key points why we are failing for a robust engagement. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kumbirai. Thank you very much. You obviously spoke about trust issues, about corruption, and finally, right there at the end, you spoke about perceptions, and especially in sports, in football. Thank you very much, Kumbi. We're going to get back as we bounce off you and bounce off the panelists in terms of this conversation. Jackson, I'm going to bring you in for your 5 minutes, just in answering the question. Please shoot away.
Thank you, Maimba. And good morning, good evening, afternoon, depending with wherever you are. And you have asked me about what are the prospects available for businesses and community leaders through opening up of diaspora engagement channels. And the key words there are prospects, then businesses, and community leaders. So we are looking at people who have got influence, and leadership is about influence. And then we look about the engagement process. I think the one thing that stands up is issues to harness our diversity. The more I'm thinking about the diaspora challenge we have, or it becomes even a diaspora opportunity, is that we have got a lot of diversity now within the Zimbabwean community. And we can, as leaders, as community leaders, as businesses, leverage on that diversity. It might be diversity in the marketplaces that we are in, diversity in the knowledge that we have. If we can harness that, then we can collaborate and make a better Zimbabwe. So we take all the different aspects that we have. Some are in a snow country, some are in a desert country, and there are ways of survival that are different in those different environments. If we mix it all together, we can come up with a very mixed, diverse solutions to the challenges we have and the opportunities that we encounter within the country. Then secondly, I think one of the things that we also need to leverage is organize around common interests. Common interest in the, maybe it might be in the areas we have in terms of professions, or even in the diaspora areas, the places that we have or we are residing. I'll give you an example. We have had a lot of brain drain. People trained in Zimbabwe, but then utilizing their skills elsewhere. Say, utilize those skills in Gaborone, utilize those skills in Johannesburg. If we can have our institutions, say University of Zimbabwe, MSU, tap into the alumni. I mean, you see with certain universities, certain colleges, say Harvard, UNISA, the moment you graduate, they are already communicating with you, they are already interacting with you, and most of their donations and their enrollment is from the alumni. And I see some gaps there. I've interacted with my former university in Zimbabwe, and the level of engagement is very low. And you are saying, okay, and we leverage. And another example is made with professional bodies. I belong to the Institute of Chartered Accountants, where we created diaspora chapters. And within the diaspora chapters, then we have got touch points with the institute. And the more we interact and network, then we can see the opportunities that are back home. And the more we have got engagement, and like your question says, diaspora engagement channels. So create those engagement channels so that you can create the conversations. And another example is even this conference we are having, where we are congregating around ideas. Then I think my colleague from Germany spoke about the mistrust. And I think in terms of addressing that, we need to find ways to ring-fence investment by those in the diaspora. And I'm touching here in terms of those in the diaspora, and we are talking about the opportunities. I'm actually hoping that the Victoria Falls Exchange will work. I think it's a good move, because most of the time when you are thinking about infrastructure funding in Zimbabwe, the first thing that you are thinking, okay, how are my returns going to come? I don't want to be sending US dollars, hard-end pullers for there to be inconsistency of policy, and they evaporate. So we need to find ways to ring fence, have some structures that ring fence the returns for the diaspora. And lastly, I just want to emphasize the idea of celebrating the achievers. Let's have and embrace those who are making it big, who are winning. Let them be the brand ambassadors for our country. Let's not castigate them. Let them be the torch bearers. And it's exciting that Zim Achievers Awards is doing exactly that. Let's rally behind those who are winning. And the more we talk about what we are doing, the more we create an awareness, and that will propel us forward. For me, I think those are the four most important items that I wanted to bring to the fore. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Davison, for all everything that you've lined up in terms of harnessing our diversity. You spoke about the alumni, professional bodies, create engagement channels, and of course, celebrating our very own, like what Zimbabwe Achievers Awards is doing all across the world. Quickly, I just want to thank again our sponsors. Thank you so much. Anchor sponsor World Remit. All across the world, you know that you can send money to your loved ones and it will arrive safely. We are very, very appreciative of that. High Mount, Kudu Business Support, and Fine and Country. Thank you very much. And then I'm gonna go, before I even come to you, Bertha, let me just welcome to the panel. He had some connectivity problems, but we are back online. Dr. Paul Machai, who's part of the panel. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe Diaspora Nation Building Initiative, a global Zimbabwean diaspora platform. He is an educationist who has a passion, who's been passionate about coalescing the UK and global Zimbabwean diaspora, dating back to the days of the Zimbabwe Diaspora Development Interface, where he served as a board member. He's current chairman of the Zimbabwe Diaspora Network, UK, a diaspora hub for member UK diaspora groups. Is a passionate team player whose philosophy is that we are at our best when we play to the strengths of our membership. Dr. Paul, welcome and hello.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me, Mr. Maimba.
It's great to have you. Where are you streaming from, Dr. Paul?
I'm in the United Kingdom in Sheffield City, yes.
Sheffield City is at the bottom of the log. It's not doing too well there.
It looks like COVID is not very friendly here, if ever it is friendly.
Your football club is not doing very well in the English Premier League.
I think there is always a second chance.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Doctor, and we appreciate having you. I'm going to go straight to maybe, Doc, just for you, so that you so that you also just get ready. I'm going to ask you a question so that you can just think around it, and then I'll get back to you. I'm going to move to Bertha in a minute, and then I'll come to you. So, Doc, do you have any practical? This is a question for you, Doc. Do you have any practical recommendations which can lead to measurable efforts at nation building? Do you have any practical recommendations that you'd put forward which can lead to measurable efforts at nation building through an organic model for community levels? That would be your recommendations there. So I'm going to get back to you, but for now we're going to move to Bertha, who's going to give us her 5 minutes response to the question that I had put forward to her. Bertha, please take the floor. It looks like we don't have any sound coming from Bertha.
Okay.
Okay, go on. Thank you, Bertha. Can hear you.
All right. Okay, great. All right, thank you. I'm willing to say that the most important thing about cementing any relationship
Bertha,
in any situation is to be positive.
Bertha,
can you hear
there's
me?
some sound somewhere.
Yes.
There's a radio.
Yes, yeah, you will have to forgive me for that one. Okay. I'm actually in transit, joining you from from Durban Airport on my way back home. Yes.
Yes, you are.
So am I loud
Yes,
enough?
you are.
Am I loud
Yes,
enough?
you are.
Let me see. Okay, great. So apologies, occasionally there'll be an airport announcement. So what I want to say is definitely in any relationship, you asked me how we can cement relationships between the diasporans and the local communities. You need to be positive. So we need to understand that migration is a reality that has happened even before. I was reading an article yesterday that was done, written by Zimbabweans on diasporans, of how there were different reasons for migration from way before independence. People migrating, moving away from the war to enhance their skills, to be in exile. And then in the early 80s, we had people exiling because of many different reasons, to the 90s, where we suffered a lot of brain drain. So migration is a continuous process in any society. So being positive and understanding what benefits it can build is very important. Unfortunately, because of the brain drain that we suffered in the 90s due to maybe political and economic issues, we have a very negative approach to the whole situation. But instead of understanding how we can harness the potential that is there between the diasporans out there and the local communities, without focusing on the reason why. So it is a reality which is there. We still have political and economic issues that we are dealing with as a country. But at the end of the day, the question that I always ask is, where are you? Where are you going? Who do you need? And are you willing to let people into your space and the people that you need into your space to succeed? So I think that's the first questions the Zimbabweans out there and the Zimbabweans here need to ask each other. Because the opportunities, I don't want to be a pessimist, are there. there are many opportunities that are available. I work in a space where we work with a lot of startup entrepreneurs. We run an MBA program in the work that I do on a daily basis for entrepreneurship. So I have interactions with startups, people at idea stage, people at growth stage, who definitely, where there's definitely in all sectors, definitely room for opportunity to cement business relationships that can actually grow our country. So in terms of leadership, I mean, it's I think the previous colleague said that we need to make an effort to create environments where trust is very, very important. I also feel that we need to create more structured and focused platforms. The platforms right now, they are there, but they are limited, and maybe the focus is not really wide enough. And also financial instruments, we need to spend more time there building financial instruments that are not limited. So, we need leaders locally in the local community. We need leaders in the diasporian community that are better able to lead diverse teams, that appreciate the skills that they have acquired in the diasporian environment and the skills that are back home, and connect to cement those relationships. We need to recognize value and understand the wider perspectives, so that when we make decisions, we are in sync. And also we need to train. I'm in the education sector, so I'm passionate about training. We need to skill each other up. We need to create knowledge hubs where we are able to, platforms where we are able to access knowledge, so that we are confident in achieving change that builds a resilient nation. So that's my overview on how we can cement relationships between diasporians and the local communities.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bertha. We just hope that they will not announce Bertha and Ndlovu, Terminal 12.
Anytime.
Thank you very much. And then Dr. Paul, I'm going to go straight to you. Bertha, thank you for that. You spoke on recognizing value, training, and upskill. I know that you're passionate about young people and training and education, which is really, really important, and that you work with startups. And this is really, really key in these conversations that we're having. So I'm going to go straight to Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul, if you want to come in, please just, Dr. Paul, do you want to put your phone on landscape? Maybe just turn it around a bit. I'm going to come to you, Dr. Paul. Did I just lose Dr. Paul there? Farai, do you wanna turn it again? You wanna turn your camera? Farai, welcome.
Thank you.
No. Again, Farai. Again.
What, like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's
portrait.
That's no. Landscape, please, Farai. Landscape.
Yeah, I did the landscape, so I'm not sure if it's the platform I'm on here, but yeah, like it's on landscape now. I suppose this will have to do. This will have to do.
That will have to do, because if you turn it on landscape, you're it's like you're an alien from Mars, and that would be really worrying.
We don't want that. Apologies for the lateness.
We don't want that. Dr. Paul. Okay, I think if Dr. Paul, I'm going to come to you. If you'd gone landscape, does it do the same with you as well? Do you want to turn your phone, Dr. Paul? Dr. Matsai? Nah, let's keep you on portrait. Let's keep you on portrait. Let's keep you on portrait.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayimba.
But before you come in, Dr. Matsai, allow me to welcome Farai. Farai, thank you for plugging in. We really, really appreciate you, and we appreciate you taking time to be a part of this very important conversation for diasporians, wherever we are in the world as Zimbabweans, having conversations that are really, really important. our cause. Farai, again, I had introduced you earlier, but allow me to just say Farai is the current CEO at the Southern African Times. He sits on the board of Platinum Vision Limited and is former executive of TimeFlex Recruitment. He's also a contributor on Arise News, where he provides regional geopolitical analysis on a weekly basis. He's a father and mental health advocate. So Farai, thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I'm going to go to Dr. Paul. Farai, I'm gonna ask you youth-led questions later on. So I'll come back to you. But let me just go to Dr. Machai for now. Dr. Machai, please go ahead. Can we get some audio?
Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayin. With respect to possible recommendations which can lead to measurable efforts at nation building through an organic model for community levels, I've got a few points for reflection. The first thing I think which is important is establishing sustainable dialogue and partnerships. A previous speaker mentioned the issue of structures and focused platforms. It is a very important thing for us as diaspora actors to be organized at the many levels that we operate at, starting at the the country level or country or regional level, like Australia, for instance, Canada, UK, Germany, and then also going beyond that, being organized at a global level as a diaspora. It is a useful point to note that as diaspora actors, a number of associations have come together to form the Zimbabwe Diaspora Nation Building Initiative, which is made up of country associations, 10 regional country associations actually, and then they get together, elect an executive committee, which then coordinates the efforts of the diaspora, the global diaspora. This is still work in progress. Many might not have heard of such a, an association being in place. But the important thing that needs to be done is to do diaspora mapping, identifying the groups that are already in existence. For instance, you've got Zim Achievers, you've got the Association of Accountants, you've got many other, a professional group which are already there. And what might be a workable proposal would be to form like an apex board or association which has got representatives of all these different diaspora associations. And then having done that, we then have a formalized way of engaging other partners like government, for instance, and the IOM, the International Organization of Migration, which is also, very keen on promoting government and diaspora engagement. So I think one essential point is establishing sustainable dialogue and partnerships built on trust, honesty, accountability, transparency, and mutual respect. I think it's a very good thing that the government of Zimbabwe has established a diaspora directorate, which is staffed with very competent personnel. One point which might also help in terms of promoting diaspora engagement would be to create corresponding structures in the diaspora itself. There has been a problem of coordination, for instance. So if we are saying that the diaspora directorate in Zimbabwe is important, then it also follows that there is need for a corresponding diaspora directorate external to Zimbabwe, which can help in coordinating the various associations that are there. And the other thing is having an engaged diaspora. I think the various efforts which are already there are testament to the fact that people are very keen on participating and making sure that they make a contribution as the diaspora. Like many countries, they're succeeding because of engaging their diaspora, who bring in a lot of skills, a lot of networks which can be proactively used, whether it might be in investment, in terms of hometown associations and alumni associations, as has already been alluded to. And then the other thing is playing to the strength of our membership. We need to identify the people who are key in our communities, who are acting on, as diaspora actors. And then we need to coalesce these and play to the strengths of our individual members. Sometimes some of them don't announce themselves. We need to go out and find out those people and then put them in strategic positions that they can help to move forward our corporate agenda. So the other important thing I think which is in process is the issue of having a diaspora model that really speaks to the needs of Zimbabwe. This is still work in progress, and the Diaspora Directorate in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade has really come out to engage the diaspora. This is still work in progress. Conversations are being held, but we can all contribute to these conversations. So I would like to say that, we need to be more coalesced as a global diaspora. Like the Zimbabwe Diaspora Nation Building Initiative model, we have Europe as another regional center, that is Europe outside the UK. So the people who are in Germany and in the other countries, in the Netherlands, it would help for us to compare notes so that you have a chapter established in that area. So the other chapters are already in place and others are just about to finish off their networking. And I think maybe I can end on the issue of emphasizing the importance of us building together, even through Zim Achievers. It's a very good platform which we can use to, reinforce our efforts beyond maybe, recognition of achievement, important as that may be. But we need to move on and coalesce and build on all these platforms to really become the kind of teams that we want to build. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share these few ideas about the importance of us coalescing and playing to the strengths of our membership. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Matsai, for that very informative response, where you're speaking about Apex Association, one body that speaks to government, and the IOM, of course. And the one thing that I liked in your presentation is playing to the strength of our membership, which is really, really critical. Who is an expert at what? How do we encourage them to? I think it's Germany. Oh no, it's Russia. When you're watching Russian movies, every time you watch Russian movies, whether they are old movies or current, there's always a word that these Russians always say. They always say, "The motherland. The motherland has called you. The motherland this, the motherland that," and they raise their children to talk about the motherland. You can't do that to the motherland. The motherland requires your scientific this. If you watch it in movies, the Americans have got it. Love him or hate him, Trump has got America first, right? It's about Americans. The British, they will take care of their own, it will always be their own first, you know. So these are the things that we're really talking about here. Yes, Farai, now we've got you right there. So Farai, I'm going to come to you, being in the media space, and basically in this session we are talking about how do we collaborate, you know, and between the diaspora and the local community. My question to you is really going to be centered around your line of work, really, which you're an expert at, opening up Zim to diaspora corridors for collaborations. So being in the media space, how can the media, specifically for Zimbabweans, how can the media play this role? How do you play this role where you conscientize Zimbabweans in the diaspora and Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe, bring them together and using the very powerful force of media? Because when you've done all this, it really comes down to the media, right? In terms of carrying the message or motivating Zimbabweans or inspiring Zimbabweans that regardless of whatever is going on, please remember to remit and go back home and run business, run sports academies, set up restaurants, set up construction companies, invest in the stock market back home. You know, so how can the media play that role?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me yet again. I really appreciate the vast, contributions as Zim Achievers Awards has contributed to the local London diaspora community, especially, but more so even to the wider community. I think it's a critical institution within our Zimbabwean diaspora that I feel honored to be speaking today. Anyway, to your question. Now, of course, with Zimbabwe, the media historically has played a fundamental role. So if you look at, pre-1980, the coordination of where we found ourselves in terms of the freedom concept was equally coordinated. It was possible because of a collaboration between the media fraternities and on all the political systems that were pre-1980. And then post that, one of the critical institutions that government started with nationalizing was the media itself. If you recall, the Herald and the Chronicle were under Gold Star and so forth. And one of the things that they started by doing was, nationalizing those spaces, taking over the, ZBC, coming up with their own national agenda, writing a values-based media system that was underpinned by African, our Ubuntu value systems and so forth. So there has always been in our country an understanding and an intrinsic understanding of the importance of information or how information is disseminated. Now, moving fast forward to now, why there is the current divide that we face in terms of perception, in as far as how our local communities that are back home and the diaspora, the gulf that is created is essentially as a consequence of, say, political narratives that have happened in the past that have been further exacerbated by the media reportage and further creating different thinkings in as far as how we interact with each other as communities. Now, how do we change this? Of course, media plays a critical role in this. I think we've just heard Dr. Paul speak eloquently on the multiple areas of collaboration that we can assert as a community, especially from a diasporan perspective. And now, where society then kicks in, the societal aspect of that is where the academic collaborates with the politician, the triangular side of society, academia, but the politics or the policymakers themselves, and then the media that then inform the public to help reshape, rebuild, and repair, right? So the critical aspect of reforming any society or educating any society, it takes years. So I'll give you an example. In the UK, when we in the late 80s, when you had quite a huge surge of Polish speaking people coming to the country for work purposes, right? The government did a huge exercise, a rollout, right? That intended to have to conscientize people to get acquainted with this new speaking population, right? This is post the era of this is during the time when the discussions around should Margaret Thatcher, should we go into the European Union as a monetary as a one monetary union, or should we stay out, and so forth. This was when it was heavy, and society was apprehensive, But then it was through government policy that people were led to start thinking in a very tolerant and open way. So the society, so countries do not just emerge. Or if you think about America, for instance, the notion of democracy as we know it, right? It had to be taught. I forget the name of the liberator that spoke about this, but he said something along the lines that it's easy to liberate a country, harder to shape it, right? So this is the part that the media plays. It works alongside these different sectors of society to influence, to help elucidate and disseminate information that can further and said the motherland, the mothership, those notions, it is in itself a way of conscientizing society. Now, let me get to the practical side of things, how this can be effective. I think that in writing a national agenda, media houses themselves need to determine what their value systems are. So if you look at CNN, they are clear about what their value systems are, in as far as they believe in libertarianism, they believe in preserving the capitalist the structures of society that determine American soft power, and they disseminate and communicate to the global market accordingly. If you look at the Financial Times, and so forth. So every media house has to determine what its value system is. With a lot of African media houses, our value systems tend to be underwritten by global standards rather than by homegrown African-based solutions. So what we intended to do, or what we try to do at the Southern African Times, is we try to tell our story from an African perspective. So the picture of the economy, for instance, the African economy is not white, is not FDI. It starts off with the startup. It starts off with the person at the grassroots in Gwarasekwa who's farming. It starts from there and how they get access to supply chains and markets and so forth. And we describe that journey, but in a palatable way to markets that are here. So that an English reader seated in Canary Wharf or an American reader in the Yonkers can understand that story in a much more nuanced way, but utilizing the same language that the Economist would use or the Financial Times would use. All we're simply doing is telling our story in our own fashion that is more nuanced to our own realities, but palatable to the global market. Okay. So, and then when we do discuss FDI inflow, when we do discuss issues relating to perhaps it could be like yesterday we were involved in launching an African venture capital, right? Because we realized that actually when it comes to venture capital, Africa only has only 1% market share. Right, America has about 56%, and Asia has about 26%, and Europe is about 30%. All the about 14%, and so forth. And yet Africa, in all of this, which is venture capital being quite a virtually new concept, but we have just 1% market share. Wow. So we are not in the conversation in terms of global narratives, as China is, as India is. Okay, but bear in mind, if we put it into perspective, there are more poor people in India than there are in Africa, but the perception is different. Yeah. So it's about what kind of value systems you want to focus on, because there are these narratives. The narratives of. I think every media house has a role to play. So, if, for example, you have the tabloid type of paper, you have the broadsheet type of paper. What we're not getting is that a lot more substance from our perspective that is internationally distributed, and we are not leading the narrative from the front. Okay, we tend to license other people to come and determine to us what is what we should be saying about ourselves. Yet it is our story essentially, but it has to start with us. So it's about domesticating our media practices and creating our own value systems that are not detached from. So I'm not advocating for an isolationist approach to how we report. Rather, what I'm advocating for is a a localized approach that has a global outlook and matches international standards, but whose nuances and narratives are rooted within a sense of a depth of understanding and grasp of what is the founding ethos of your country or your continent. So be it Zimbabwe, what is our founding ethos? Every country has its founding ethos, and every country has to establish what is going to be its value system. So for the next 10 years, for instance, if our value system is that we are open for business and we want to encourage investment, right? There should be a coordinated approach from a diaspora. So through the media then rallies its core constituencies. It looks at its diaspora market. You know that in South Africa, South African diaspora based in Zimbabwe makes up about 80%, right? So they're a critical constituency. How is the local diaspora communicating to them? But equally, how are papers or broadcasting corporations that are essentially by heritage Zimbabwean but based in the UK or elsewhere in the world, how are we engaging this base market, right? And what are their needs? Where are they? What are what are the indicators? What are the locators of the demographic itself? Okay, because I know that like newzimbabwe.com has done a lot of work over the years, and now we have Zim Live, so a lot of guys are popping up, and which is great. But are we speaking to every demographic? Are there gaps in the market? And how are we filling those gaps in? So it's about having not a monolithic approach to the discussion. Not everyone believes what you believe. Not everyone sees things as you see them. And how do we ensure that we don't leave anyone behind? And this is the critical job that media has. We tend to have this monolithic approach to how we assess things. If I think about when I meet a Zimbabwean, they immediately assume that they know that, or they assume I'm Shona, for instance, or kuti saka, ngabe ngayende, type of thing. How do you know? Maybe I like the dude, There's a monolithic approach to how we think about our country and how we think about ourselves. So if you think about it, like, for example, there is a great philosopher the philosophy that talks about how we should not, you should not look at the world, you should not see things as you would like them to exist. See them as they are. And part of the dichotomy between us and the diaspora and the home-based community is that we like to see things as we would like to see them rather than as they exist. And it's very difficult then to create alliances that are cooperative, because there is that, I think I know better. And they know better because they're on the ground. I tend to say that when I go home, I don't go home to instruct, I go home to learn. So in order for us to harness a collaborative effort between the media fraternity, which is international, and trying to break the international story and create nuances within external markets, we have to work closely with those that are on the ground, be it by creating investment pathways for these different institutions, developing programs that mean that we can work together in terms of the quality of reportage that we would like to see for our country. We can create think tanks that emphasize on the socioeconomic planning aspects that we can have as media houses. How can we better tell the economic story from a more collaborative perspective? And a critical resource for us is our IT skills based. Our IT skills. We should have an IT skills based locator where we are able to facilitate self-reporting for the diaspora and the local community to establish, okay, where are our skills in terms of media? Because now media is transforming. Now we're heading towards reading on your tablet, and people want to be able to listen to media, for instance, and there are different media outlets. So if we're going to disseminate the message of Zimbabwe, the goodwill, the bad, the great, the ugly, and we want to get it as far as possible, it means that we have to create tools that adapt to the new realities. And I think in closing, what I would say is that in as much as we are, as a country, very much, of course, deeply polarized, and and it's a bit of a challenge to create these synergies that are long-lasting and quite that have evidenced deliverables in the past. But what I'm encouraged by is the fact that we can have the conversation. And what I'm seeing is a lot of communities popping up, I do have a lot of discussion with a few guys on the panel, you know, Kumbirai in Germany and Dr. Paul, and it's these type of synergies that I think would encourage a better, more strategic way of thinking, and then eventually we might create the Zimbabwe we would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Farai. Thank you very much. I mean, like also you said, it's the way we are so polarized as Zimbabweans. You know, it's either you're black or you're white. It's either you're this party or that party. It's either you're Japres or you're Winky D. Either you're, I mean, and if you're that, you can't then eat sadza with the guy from Winky D's same. So it's either our country is always, it's either you're this or you're that.
Yeah.
And the funny bit is that everybody's fighting for a so-called democracy that we don't seem to even understand. Because if you don't allow me to be what I want to be, and you want me to be what you think I should be, then what democracy are you talking about? You know what I mean? But hopefully, again, like you say, these synergies, guys, all of us, at the end of the day, what brings us all together just here, if we are a representation of our great nation of Zimbabwe, just here on this platform, is that we are Zimbabweans. You know, we might be in Germany, Botswana, but what brings us together is, as the Russians would say, the mothership of the motherland, you know. So that's what we're doing. So what we're going to do, thank you very much for every one of you. Please just staying with us. We've just got an hour. We've got another 50 minutes going up. To have it. Now, the next conversation is on the young people. We work with young spaces in our different spheres, and we're going to be tapping. We're going to go straight through to a quick commercial break, and then when we get back, we continue with conversations to do with the young people, and then we'll close off this session. But thank you. Please just, if you want to get a drink or some water, and of course, Farai, if you want to get a camera stand, that's still okay. That's still okay, my brother, in this break, and then we'll get back and finish off this session. Thank you, guys. We're going to just go through for a commercial break. There we are. Well, thank you. Hi, Kumbi. Bertha, I see your flight hasn't come through yet. Okay, guys. So again, there we go. So we are now in the final stretch of our conversation. We're in the final stretch of our conversation, and the final stretch of our conversation is, the topic is the role the youth can play in nation building. The role the youth can play in nation building. And I'm not talking about youthies, okay? We're not talking about the youthies, we're talking about the youth. The youth can play in nation building, and that's the conversation that we're going to be having here. Farai, for you, again, I'm going to stick to media because we really want to sponge off you and get as much as we can as well, because you're in that space. You spoke about new media houses coming on board, news hawks and so on. News Zimbabwe, well, it's not a new media house, it's been there for a good bit. Zim Live, I think, has been here for about a year or so. But again, these are media houses that are being run by very experienced journalists, award-winning journalists. and journalists that were running for working for media houses, and they've just now gone into starting their own media empires, I pray and hope. But it's still being run by people that are not young people, you know. So as it were, it would seem as if it's still the older generation that's writing stories for the young people. So how, again, with regards to the diaspora, Southern Times as well, specifically, and the diaspora all across the world, how can the young people plug into the media space and be able to tell our own story, like you're saying, our own very authentic story, which bridges the diaspora youth, the 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20, 29 to 30-year-old young girl living in Manchester, Sheffield, in Germany, in Botswana. How do they engage, and their writing talent? How does it? So that I'm going to leave that with you, Farai. Maybe just stew a little bit on that, and then, you know, when your position comes, you can then speak. Kumbirai, in Germany, my question to you would be youth versus policies in place. Who should be accountable to whom, and how can we reach common ground? The youth that we have today versus any policies that are in place, you know, again, with regards to diaspora and Zimbabwean government. Are there policies that promote youth, that promote young people to flourish? A quick example that I would give you is that you've got policies that Zimbabwe Youth Council, where you would be talking about youth sitting on boards. There's got to be one youth sitting on boards, or company boards, national boards. I mean, what are the percentages, you know, that we're looking at? Not necessarily that you can have them offhand, but the youth versus government policy right now, is government promoting young people to flourish? The idea is for Zimbabweans to flourish, you know, so the government must obviously give an enabling government. Bertha, are you with us, or you're on flight now? Zatenda, do you want to bring in Bertha there?
Yes, I'm still with you. I'm still with you.
So Bertha, for you, I know you also work a lot with young people. Moving forward, what recommendations would you give, or suggestions to trigger the call of duty in the young people? You know, what recommendations would you give to trigger the call of duty in the youth, in any sphere, really, in any sphere, whether it's politics, it's media, it's business? How do we have young people answer to the call of duty and be a part of Zimbabwe that we all want, a Zimbabwe that functions, a Zimbabwe that works? You know, that would be the question. And Debson, I would say, what examples of innovative youth-led initiatives do we have, and assess the frameworks that are supporting or impeding their efforts? What examples of innovative youth-led initiatives do we have, and are there impediments that we've got that, you know, stand in the way of youth being a part of the bigger picture? All right, is that okay, Debson?
Sure, it is. Thank you, Mike.
Fantastic. Dr. Machai, are you with me?
I thought maybe the youth strand had a different panel, so I had sort of moved out to create room for other panelists.
No, Dr. Machai, we absolutely want you on board as we go into this final in this final section. Dr. Machai, maybe for you, just share with us how you as an organization have tried to engage the young people in the diaspora to connect with the motherland of Zimbabwe, and how the young people in the diaspora can be a part. The reason I asked this is because I've seen a couple of young people on social media that have actually come back home and started farming projects. There's this one lady, one very aggressive lady. She's actually farming. She came back from England, I think about 6-7 months ago, and she's literally farming. So Dr. Matsai, maybe you want to speak about how young people can really connect, whether remotely from the diaspora, or really if they see an opportunity to really come back. So I know that Farai spoke last. Farai, if you're ready, I can come back to you, or I can flip this and maybe go back to Kumbirai. Kumbirai, can I come to you, sir? Kumbirai, you want to plug in?
Yeah. Hi, Maimba. Thanks once again. So I think your question that you've just given me relates to youth versus policy in place. Who should be accountable to whom, and how can we reach common ground? I want to be very controversial and say that the youth must do as they feel, and they must do as they think is best, because the global world, if you look at the Elon Musk, the Zuckerbergs, the young people that are making it, the youth are defining how the world is going to be shaped in the next 20-30 years. So for me, I believe that government policy will fall into line with the good things that the youth are going to do. Because from an African perspective, especially, our governments are lacking youth-led projects. They're lacking youth-led initiatives. If you look in Africa right now, we are the biggest population in terms of young people, 60%. But how many young people are in leadership positions in Africa? Yet we are talking about shaping, they are going to be there in the next 30-40 years, but they're not the ones who are writing the story. You talk in terms of from a media perspective, or even talking from a terms even in Zimbabwe in politics, how many young people are really involved in decision-making processes within the political parties in Zimbabwe? We look at in terms of our governance, in terms of our ministers, how many of them are young people? So there is in Africa, we have sort of isolated young people from key positions, which I think that is one of the benefits of being in the diaspora, whereby in the diaspora, unlike in Africa, a lot of young people have got voice to speak. They've got initiatives that they are running as young people. So we need to make the young person in Dortmund, Germany, who's in a position to speak up, to be able to work with the young person in Gurube, who does not have the same ability or the same capacity. Because of technology, it's now easy for people to work within two different countries or different spaces, but to work together. So I think if we leave things to government, we won't go anywhere. That is my honest opinion. I think young people need to take up the future for themselves, either be it politically, either be it economically, either be it in terms of technology, in terms of the social space. I think also within young people, we need to breed a group of young leaders, besides whether politically, whether in economics, whereby we come together as young people of Zimbabwe with a common interest of saying, like you spoke about the motherland, built on a vision of a successful Zimbabwe, without politicians, put politics aside, but young people, the young people within the ZANU-PF, within the MDC, within all the different political parties, because what you share is a shared history that going forward, you are the ones who are going to be there in Zimbabwe. So if you go along being partisan, like what is happening right now, then only the young people are going to suffer. The leaders in our country, whether be it in NDC or ZANU-PF, they're not suffering. It's the young people that are suffering. So we need youth-driven policies. I also work hand in hand with the Zimbabwe Youth Council. We do a lot of knowledge and skills transfer. We have entrepreneurship programs we are running in Zimbabwe. We've trained more than 3,500 young people and women over the past year in partnership with the Zimbabwe Youth Council. So I also understand the effort that the Zimbabwe Youth Council is doing. But also another problem is that the Zimbabwe Youth Council is part of, it's a government body. So government body also has its own rules. We need to come out with more hubs that are led by people that are not necessarily in power, but that are more transformative, that are more in terms of innovation and concentrating on technology alone. And this is easy because now we're at a time, like I said, it's a global space whereby a young person in Silicon Valley, a young person in Cape Town, a young person in Manchester, and a young person in China can all come together. So yeah, that is my controversial view that young people must not wait for the government, because the young people are the future and they must take what they need to do right now, and the government will follow in terms of policy what the young people are doing correctly. So thank you for that. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Kumbi. Thank you so much. I'm going to get straight to Bertha, who's probably running for a plane. So Bertha, please quickly in the next 2-3 minutes, just share your thoughts. Again, the rest of the panel, we've got another session coming through. So I'll just ask you to just keep your contributions brief so that we can wrap this conversation. But thank you so much. Bertha, please come on board.
Thank you very much. You've touched definitely a subject that I'm very passionate about, and I actually stumbled into the world of the youth. And what I can say definitely is, I think in my previous statement is I mentioned being positive, understanding the reality of migration, and having a strong diasporian community growing, and having our local community existing and creating those synergies. And our youth are in the middle of that. The most important thing that you have to understand is the youth is not blinded by too many things, due maybe to lack of exposure, though the youth of today have access to technology. I think preaching a positive message to the youth is very important for us who are enabled, us who are exposed. I always speak of the 3 E's: education, experience, and exposure. So our youth, trust me, I work with youth on a daily basis. I'm based at a university. These are people who are willing to lead. The passion that you see in, I always talk about the passion that you see in high school students when they run clubs and committees, which in a tertiary education, unfortunately, because of lack of resources and support, is dying. But being a youth is the most beautiful thing, because you see potential without limitation. So I'm challenging this platform and the diasporians out there to say that the youth who are willing to stand up and respond to the call of duty are there. I see them every day, and they're, when it comes to technology, the level of development of products and tech solutions out there with the youth. We did a project last year where we reached out to 1,500 youth who came and pitched ideas in every sector of industry, be it agriculture. I have my student in MBA who's actually mentioned that you will see that the need to gather the right statistics so that we know where we are important, because a lot of youth are going into agriculture due to lack of formal employment. But is there a formal approach to resourcing those youth and harnessing that potential that we have? So the challenge that I have is actually to say, if there is need, as Dr. Machai says, there's need to create those formal structures and associations in the diasporan community, and reaching out to local organizations. I can tell you, Kumbirai, the hubs that you're talking about that are focusing on innovation, tech, they're there. They're there here in Zimbabwe. And every day we're having webinars, we're having hackathons, we're having pitches. But the issue is continuity, sustainability. We don't want our hackathons and our pitch events to become a road to nowhere where it's just an event. So I feel that we're failing on the implementation. The young youth and the young leaders who are willing to respond to the call are there. And I think it's all about preaching a positive word as well. The youth depend on seeing possibility. And it's our responsibility to build possibility. I was reading an article, November 25, 2020, actually, highlighting one of our biggest banks, CBZ, as having grown more than 10 times due to the fact that they've digitalized. And such news, when you share with young people, they want to move into that space with CBZ. They want to say, CBZ, you actually have the solutions that you want to hear locally. How can we work with you? And then how can we support this by promoting external relationships that further build on that knowledge and the equipment and the infrastructure that they need. And exposure, I talked about the 3 E's: exposure, exchange programs. We have COVID limiting us right now, but I can tell you, if you read this article, it's saying that Africa has come out with 10 countries being the fastest growing economies due to COVID. We've created COVID millionaires. I can tell you the number of students at the universities that I'm working with who've gone into sanitizer manufacturing and are selling and are surviving. So you'll find that it's very, very important for us to tell the stories that build and give our youth hope. The biggest problem right now is them seeing a focused, structured platform. I feel the government, like you said, Kundarai, has put the instruments in place, but its implementation, it's resourcing those implements. I would challenge each one to be practical and challenge yourself to say, this is my passion, this is the area that I am. How many youth am I bringing on board? Because they will respond to the call. And it's very important for us to realize that they need that exposure and they need the resources to carry on to the next stage. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Bertha. I know you have to rush for your flights. Thank you. And Bertha, you might need to take up Kumbirai in Germany, who has just said, would love Bertha and the youth organization. We have material and the tools, and we'll take those youth globally. So away from this already, Zimbabweans connecting Zimbabweans and promoting each other as Zimbabweans, whether here locally or in the diaspora. Thank you so much, Bertha. Have a safe flight. And we'll see you when you arrive. So please connect with Kumbi. I'm going to go straight now to Dr. Machai. Dr. Machai, just quickly in a very few, in 2 minutes or so, because we're running out of time. In 2 minutes or so, please just tell us how young people in the diaspora, especially in England, can connect with the motherland, with Zimbabwe, and really look at opportunities, and are there any impediments to them accessing finance or accessing having the support that they need to flourish, because Zimbabweans must flourish wherever we are. Dr. Machai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maimba. My contribution will be very short, and precisely, I think I would like to underscore and acknowledge the importance of young people, being involved. We have tried to create, like in one of our, like in the Zimbabwe Diaspora Network UK, we actually have got a youth department, which we have set up, and it's for people who are under the age of 40. And what needs to be done more, I think, is what I could say, to connect with them, identify, young prospective young people leaders, connect with them, nurture them, and release them, to really give them meaningful kind of engagement. And some of them are very much passionate about engaging around cultural issues, around business. And it is very important for us to enable them, connect them, like with the Zimbabwe Youth Council, for instance. So I think we'll need to get more notes, more contacts, so that we can make those contacts available. And some of the young people, even at home, I think, are developing apps and things like that. So they are very keen, to really, engage with our technology and all the other areas. So I think while we are trying to synergize and coalesce as adults, we also need to have corresponding structures, I think, at every level for the young people, where they have demonstrable, power to be able to make decisions and to be innovative and, engage with other young people also in Zimbabwe. So it is an area, I think, which is requiring more attention than we are giving it. And I think we need to enable the young people more, and then release them after, comparing notes with them, drawing the vision together with them, and then they then go out to implement that. So I think it's work in progress, but really commendable work, because the young people not only are they the leaders of tomorrow, but they need to be the leaders of today, because they can make a contribution today. Thank you very much.
You're muted, Maimba. You're muted.
My apologies. My apologies. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Machai, for that very precise contribution. I'm gonna rush straight to Gaborone in Botswana. Devson, please come through.
Yeah, thanks, Maimba, and thanks to the other panelists for the contributions that they've made. In terms of the youth initiatives that I've seen in the space that I am in, most of the issues has been around representation, having the young people being invited to the table to make the contributions that they need to make the contributions. And once you give them those positions, I mean, we literally call it the G40 effect, where those under 40 are allowed to participate. And in the profession, we've allowed them to be in council. And myself as a young person, I'm in the presidium of the institute, and it just gives that confidence to the young people that they can be represented, and no one is going to speak for them, but they are going to speak for themselves. And the other thing that we are also doing, we are seeing in terms of youth-led initiatives, is some crowdfunding initiatives where young people are contributing funds and investing in areas of interest. And like we said at the beginning, it can be in areas around the things that we are interested in. And lastly, I just want to talk about empowering the young people in terms of mentoring them and then harnessing the technology to make the ideas a reality. And I know of the work that Star Academy is doing in Zimbabwe, where they are taking the guys from A level, empower them and release them into the market when they are ready. And like I said, in the institute, at an institute level, we have got empowerment and empowerment. We empower the students that are coming through, so that I know.
Well, Debson will seem to be having a problem with his sound there.
These young people to be future ready, to have the resources and the abilities that they need to succeed. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Well, thank you very much, Debson. Thank you very much for that. Debson, you used the word G40. Again, because we are so polarized as a nation, we can't even use the word G40 because some people literally use the word G40 becomes political, you know. So maybe what we need to use is Generation 40. Maybe use the full word and say Generation 40. Our mindsets have just been adulterated, you know. It's a word that people have just taken ownership of, and we can't even use simple words like G40. So maybe if you use Generation 40, you know, that will maybe attract the young to such a movement of promoting Zimbabwe. I'm going to go straight now to Farai. Farai, you want to close this session, please, Farai?
Look, hi. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, Farah. You can close the
Great,
session
great.
now. In the next
Thank you so
3
much.
minutes, Farah, so that we wrap up. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So listen, great contributions from Kumbirai. Kumbirai I've known for a long time, and yeah, you know, he's doing some great work, and really appreciate what he's doing, especially for Zimbabwe. But more so, done quite a lot of work in Ghana as well. You know, and I appreciate that sort of you know, a globalistic approach to creating sustainable solutions for Africa. And so I wanted to take up on something Betha was said, which was quite good. I was quite impressed by the fact that we created synergy there between Betha and Kumbirai based on the work that she's doing, you know, at CBZ. And I wanted to just follow up on a point and a personal experience that I had on a consultancy gig I had for a young company called TextAid, and it's a diaspora, and it exemplifies what we're trying to achieve, which is creating you know, a collaboration between Zimbabwe local communities and the diaspora. Okay, so TextAid is founded initially here, but its core team is between Botswana and Zimbabwe, right? And they created a solution for COVID. Like, they were quite ahead of the game. And so my role was to merely consult and to, you know, get the right people to see it. And of course, we were able to do that, and a rollout started. And it's been a self-reporting and contact tracing tool. And Zimbabwe was probably one of the first to have contact tracing. The rollout implementation has been very challenging, but these are the things, you know. But the essence of it all is we have to start somewhere. You know, now, so coming to the question of around youthfulness, you know, I tend to, when I listen to some of the commentary around, you know, youthfulness, you'd almost think that, you know, you're talking about this endangered species that is quite vulnerable to the extent that, you know, they don't have their own initiatives and own ideas, you know, themselves. But I differ. You know, I've seen, you know, example after example of companies that have demonstrated that it isn't the case. You know, if you look at Fresh in the Box in Zimbabwe, it's doing great numbers. They're quickly scaling. Send It To. These are youth-led companies. Okay, and you know, the Southern African Times, us, we are a youth-led company. But we also believe in intergenerational working, creating intergenerational linkages. So yes, there should be representation, but equally there should be mentorship. I wouldn't know what I know if it wasn't for my father. I wouldn't know what I know if it wasn't for my mentor, Steve Munyanyi, Mike Edwards, all these people that I credit for spending time and giving me the grounding that I needed. Okay, so there has to be an intergenerational linkage. We don't just get there by ourselves. Of course, we have our aspirations, but we also have to go through stages of development and have to be realistic about that stage of development. And it only works best if there's an intergenerational linkage. So that's what I believe in, intergenerational linkage. Even when the question of youthfulness, when it's politicized, you know, I tend to argue that, you know, a lot of when it's politicized, you know, as a concept, there's nothing generative about it. You know, some youth, some youth think as if they've just walked into the 15th century. So what is it? What is generative about that, right? So what we should be, of course, encouraging is what are our collective aspirations, which they're not going to be monolithic. They're not all going to be the same. We all have different areas of expertise, and how do we fit into the kind of Zimbabwe we want? Yes, we are the leaders today. And the best place to start is feeding off what Kumbirai said earlier, when he said that, no, listen, we have to create the solutions. We're the ones ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. We see what we see the aspirations that we have in terms of the global changes. We adapt quickly. We're quite dynamic. We're agile. That agility can create the Africa's version of Facebook. That agility can create Africa's version of Amazon. Like the same way that same agility gave China its own Alibaba, China its own Alipay, China its own processes and systems that were developed predominantly by the youth from regional investment. So the question is, it's not what anyone else can do for us, even as a youth brigade or a youth forum or a youth or people who identify themselves as the youth, but it's really what we can identify for ourselves, and then create the synergies that get us there. To be more practical, I mean, history is littered with these experiences whereby the youth take it upon themselves. If you look at the civil rights movement, if you look at any critical, the fourth revolution, for instance, the fourth revolution is driven by youth underwriters. The companies that we talk of today that have created these platforms are predominantly youth driven. From a company that we use like WordPress, that's youth driven. But look at its digital print and digital economy. Okay, so it's about how are we thinking. Are we thinking through the spaces that exist, or are we thinking through the spaces that we want to create in order to bring to existence? And I cited a company like Fresh in the Box that didn't exist, and it started off Twitter. Someone leveraging their ability to create networks on Twitter, and all of a sudden, he has the entire Harare eating vegetables from his phone. So what is generative about the youthful concept that we're talking about is the critical question. Yes, it's well and good to be represented in government. We can create all those quotas. Government, in fact, I would argue that government has done very well in creating youth quotas. If you look at Zimbabwe's youth policy and youth initiatives, my goodness gracious me, they are par, excellence. You can't fault them. Of course, there are implementation challenges, but in order for that to actually occur, right? Why is it we're expecting government to write from our need with the representation of people who get into these bureaucracies, who are equally youth and equally will be impacted by the very organizational culture that we want to see shifted? It's not like when you join government or you join these other organizations, all of a sudden that organizational culture is shifted because you are a part of it. No, you become a part of the establishment until you build alliances of a group of youth who think like you and a huge group, because politics is statistical, it's numbers. And to shift those cultures, and shifting cultures, it takes 10 years at least on average. But so shall we wait for the 10 years? Because by that time, I'm beyond 40. So the question is, what are you doing today? What solutions are you finding today? Yesterday, like I alluded earlier, I was part of so Adam Molay, it kicked off an initiative in South Africa yesterday. It's called ZAA Kickstarter, right? And it's they put aside about $1 million US dollars, and what they're looking for is for people to apply and to go through the mentorship programs and then find seed money to invest in their projects. The Africa Development Bank has also a very dynamic youth program, especially in agribusiness. They want to make agriculture sexy, and I'm very excited about that project because it's what drives, it's the engine of economic development. And I shy away from the notion that people are going to agriculture because kuna mabasa elsewhere. I think we have to think differently about that because a lot of people are going into agriculture for different reasons. But to sum it up, what I'm simply trying to say is that there are many opportunities in our country, but it's not a question of how we can what someone else can do for us or what the institutions that exist can do for us. But it's a question of our perspective and our approach to it. What is our mindset to it? It's a mindset shift, a paradigm shift on how we think and how we approach Africa. Because Africa it's only us. It's in our hands to change it, and I'm willing to collaborate with people willing to do so as well. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Farai. Thank you so much, Farai Devson. Farai, the Devson in Gaborone, Kumbi in Germany, Dr. Matai in Sheffield, in England. I'm blown away, literally, as a moderator, because I'm interfacing with Zimbabweans across the world, but Zimbabweans that are really passionate about doing the thing, and doing the most in the spaces that we can and space that we can control, and pushing the agenda that Zimbabweans across in the diaspora and the ones in Zimbabwe can interlink and find synergies that propel us forward, than to be mired down with political affiliations and this black or white. So you've got to be this or that for you to be able to access this. For as long as we have a mentality that is wired that way, we will not be able to progress as Zimbabweans. And it is important that we rise above that, such mentality, rise above it, and just have Zimbabweans that are Zimbabweans and that want the best for this great nation. So thank you to each one of you. Really excited. I'm excited by the collaborations and excitements and the phone numbers being shared already. And guys, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's come together and really prove that, look, there's strength in numbers. There's strength in looking for the best in each other than the worst of each other. This is the most important thing. Marshall Gore in England says, well said, Farai Muvuti. There, I know that Marshall is doing great work in terms of sport, the sports area, and making sure that we have Zimbabweans born in England play for the nation. This is what we want. Voyani says, very informative summit. We're glad that you guys plugged in. We're going to have another session. This was a preemptive session speaking on the youth, but we're going to have another youth session with a different panel altogether starting at 12:30. I'm encouraging all the viewers across the world, please be a part of that session that's coming up at 12:30. It's going to be youth and young people are going to be speaking on that platform. Again, the Zimbabwe Achievers ZAA Global Summit, Virtual Summit 2020, which starts today, goes into tomorrow. So stay with us. Please plug in at some point. Our sponsors, thank you. I want to say thank you to our sponsors. Katenda is going to come in and thank the sponsors just now, all of them, but thank you so much. My name is Maimba, spelled M-A-I-M-B-A. It's been an absolute pleasure to moderate and lead this conversation by experts in different fields, speaking on how we can be better as a people and as a Zimbabwe. Please plug in, be a part of this conversation, and get as much as you can, sponge as much as you can. And it's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to go straight to a commercial break, and then Tatenda is going to come through and wrap this session. Thank you. God keep you, God protect you, and God be with you. God bless.
Thank you, Maimba, for that. Thank you for that very informative session. I am also quite blown away. Thank you to all the panelists, Kumbirai, Farai, Dr. Paul, Bertha, somewhere on a plane by now. Thank you guys so much. This has been really informative. Thank you for taking time out to come through and share, your perspective with us. Thank you to World Remit for making all this possible. We are going to go on to a break, and we'll be back for the next session at 12:30. Hopefully you will all join us. The next session is on youth. We'll have an amazing panel. We've got Tanya Masiwa coming through. We have got Dr. Tabo in Canada. It's going to be very interesting, and I hope you guys can join us. Thank you to World Remit. Thank you to High Mount. Thank you to Kudu Support, and thank you to Fine and Country for sponsoring this and making this possible. Remember to keep following us on Facebook, Zim Achievers Awards page, on Zimbo Live, and on YouTube. On Twitter, ZAA follow the station, and I hope that we'll get to stay together during the summit and learn as much as we can. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch up on the next session.